Alright, do you own a discus tank and struggle with sick fish? Here's the truth. You need a quarantine tank. I can't tell you how many calls I'm getting from people that are struggling because they're trying to treat a 180-gallon fish tank. You guys, you're wasting money on the medications. You need to go buy a 20-gallon fish tank, and I'll explain why in this video. It'll actually save you money by going and buying a couple used 20-gallon fish tanks. And simple setups: sponge filter, heater. That's it. I like the Evo. They work for me, but whatever works for you. Cycle tank, always have it running. It's not a fish tank, it is a quarantine tank. As long as you keep these tanks, and these are my quarantine tanks, I have 4 of them here, but if you keep these as quarantine tanks and just leave them running, you don't have to have fish in them all the time. The bacteria will fall off a little bit, but as long as it's going all the time, you will have some bacteria, and you could take bacteria from another source and seed these tanks. So I've been keeping discus for 30 years, off and on, breeding, keeping, every form of discus keeping you can think of. I keep many other fish too. I just don't keep discus. Discus are my passion. I love to breed them. I've learned a thing or two about trying to treat big tanks. It usually doesn't work, and it's very, very, very expensive. I pick up these 4 20 gallons right here, I picked up for $40. The heaters I do buy new. I usually keep them for about a year, and then I throw them away because they'll break down. What I also do is I can heat my barrels with them, so if they break down in my barrels, it's not a big deal. Sponge filters, everybody knows about those. Easy to keep, easy to clean, perfect for quarantine tanks. So in this video, we're going to go over everything you need to know about quarantining fish. I'm not going to get really into specifics of medications because those are all on my website at shelteraquatics.com, and you can read up on those. And also, when you receive my medications, not only do I give you specific instructions, but I give you my phone number to contact me if you have issues. So on these tanks here, these guys are new. I'm bringing in some domestic wild crosses, mostly domestic though, because I'm looking for their color. You got a red spot green, which tends to hold a lot of the wild colors, and then a galaxy turquoise. And if you look at them, they even have those bars. So to me, that's what I'm looking for, is I want a domestic color with a wild feel to it. So I brought these in about 3 weeks ago. They've gone through their first levamisole treatment, and they're going to get their second, and then they're going to go into metronidazole, and then they're going to get the praziquantel. Okay? The reason I do that is because I have about $10,000 in fish in this room, and I can't afford those fish to get sick and then have to treat those fish. So for me, it's a necessity. I have to do it this way. Do you have to do it that way? I'm going to talk a lot about cross-contamination, new strains coming in, but if I was to dump these fish into my tank, existing tank, I'm playing Russian roulette. And it's not one bullet in a 6-chamber, it's probably about 3 or 4 bullets in a 6-chamber. So you might get lucky, but chances are by just bringing this fish and dumping them in one of my tanks, I'm going to have issues. Alright, if you have a discus aquarium, you need quarantine tanks. I recommend 2. 20 gallons, that's all you need. They're simple to buy, very cheap. You can find them used. Even if there's a silicone problem, you can reseal them. I think I've resealed all 4 of these. And easy, clean setup. But this is going to save you a lot of heartache. It's going to save you a lot of time. And it's going to save you a ton of money. Okay? I can't express enough how important it is to not to try to dump medications in a 250 or 180 gallon fish tank. It's insanity. You're gonna just be throwing money down the tube, right? Now, on my website, mostly everything treats about 300 gallons, and you can kind of get away with it, but the metronidazole is, you have to treat daily, and I've just upped it to 1,800 gallons, so you can upgrade to 1,800 gallons. But guys, please get a quarantine tank and keep it as a quarantine tank. Okay, cross-contamination. You have to understand that every facility that these fish come from has a different bacteria load, a different strain of bacteria. It has all kinds of issues. So people always ask me, what's the difference about keeping them separate in your own room? Well, you don't realize it, but your water contains certain bacteria in it, okay? And by slowly flushing these tanks and flushing these fish out with that bacteria, they get introduced to your bacteria. Now, is that 100%? As time goes on, that percentage goes way up. So I would never say 100%, but something can always still go wrong with bacteria. So the first thing I do when I get these fish is I let them sit in the tank for a couple days. I don't feed them, I just keep them clean, and then I give them a nice salt treatment. That salt treatment starts to break down those bacteria a little bit, but here's the thing. I know the recommendation's 2 weeks, 4 weeks. That's not enough time, okay? I'm telling you right now, problems start to come up with fish that are introduced into your fish room or your fish tank at about the 4-week mark. I can't tell you how many times I've had where I've looked at a fish over a couple weeks. Oh, these things look amazing, right? They look really, really healthy. Eyes are clear. They're swimming around. They're eating, right? But I'm at the 3-week mark. I know if something's going to pop up, it's probably going to pop up in the next week, right? So I personally recommend 90-day quarantine. I know that sounds insane, okay? I know I'm off the charts. I know I'm going to get hate because I get hate in every video, but that's okay. Because I'm telling you from experience that 90 days on Discus, most fish, but especially Discus, is about the standard. Personally, I keep them 6 months. Now the reason why is because I put them through that full med treatment, right? And I don't want to just keep dumping meds into the tank and keep loading them up and saying, okay, you get a week off, here's more meds. You get a week off, here's more meds. No, I want to treat, give them 3 weeks to relax, get more acclimated in my room, get used to me. I mean, these guys are in my room for 3 weeks. You can see they know where their food's coming from, okay? And this is a high traffic. This isn't the best place for a quarantine tank. But the first couple days, what I did is I draped a towel over it, and then I slowly lifted that towel, and then within about a week, they were comfortable. So the last phone call I want to get is, I got new fish, I put them in my tank right away, and everything's sick or dying. Because at that point, it's almost impossible to reverse that. It can be done, but it's tons of antibiotics and tons of salt. So you've created that problem. And here's the thing with your planted tanks. Discus don't come from planted waterways. They come from fallen trees. You gotta look at this fish and look at how it's built. It's got huge eyes, right? You put a bright light on a planted tank on these fish, why are they being stressed? They're designed to be in the shadows. They're designed to be relaxed. They're designed to have, they're compressed, right? They're flat. So they're designed to basically stay within the fallen trees. So they have that profile that hides them in the bushes, okay? So you put these fish in a bright tank. Eventually they might get acclimated to it, but they're not comfortable because they have those huge eyes and they do not like the bright lights. So I am a true believer that most of the time stress comes from their environment, not necessarily parasites. Can it be a combination? Definitely, all right? But if you look at how these fish are built, they're designed to be comfortable in a darkened tank with debris or fallen trees or something, lots of logs or whatever. That's how they feel comfortable. They are not comfortable in a bright tank, okay? I'm just gonna say that because I see you guys send me pictures and it looks like they're living in pure sunlight. Dim the lights. Do you have a planted tank with Discus or do you have a Discus tank with plants? Ask that question, and that is up to you. That is not, I don't care either way, but I'm just telling you, you send me a picture of a planted tank with bright lights and you're wondering why your fish aren't doing well, that is why. These fish are designed to be in muted light, not bright light. So the quarantine tank, highly recommend the 20 gallon. Why the 20 gallon? One, easy to maintain, quick water changes, because I can do a water change on this tank in a couple minutes. Doesn't take much energy, keeps cost way down because of the meds you have to put in to treat the fish. Now I want you to look at this fish here. These fish are new. I haven't had a disease in my room in about a year. This guy right here, this little guy, he's a F1 Coupois. And the other day I'm sitting there looking at him, I'm looking at him gilling. So his respiration is like this. They should have about a beat. Okay? When I see that heavy respiration, I instantly know something is wrong. Something is stressing this fish. And then upon closer examination, it might be gill flukes, but definitely a gill disease. And you notice that by their flap starts to come out of their gill a little bit, right? First thing I do, I throw this thing in a 20 gallon quarantine tank. He went in there yesterday. And I put in salt, okay? Now my salt is designed 1 to 30 gallons. This is actually a 20 gallon, so technically it's 18 gallons of water. So I triple dosed my salt. I went to 3 scoops of my scoops into this 20 gallon. I will leave him in here for a couple days on that and watch him gill. Now he will get the prosy treatment, and that's coming up. But I do not go right to meds. I put him in his tank because it could be a stressing factor as far as another fish bullying him, and I want to watch him. Now he's a little stressed in this tank because it's a different lighting system. He came from a dark tank, but the reason why I have to have a little bit of light is because I have to be able to assess this fish every day. Every day I come in the morning, I look at him. Every day when I come home from work, I look at him, and then before I go to bed, I look at him. So I want to see if there's improvements or if he's going the wrong way. In a big tank, that's hard because they want to tend to hide, and they kind of can get picked on during the day, right? Other fish can see this fish is weak, so I'm going to go after him because I want to make sure that this fish understands that I am dominant even though this fish is sick. This is going to be a project. It's not awesome that this has happened, but I haven't had any disease in my room in about a year, so I'm going to try my treatments on this guy and see if I can get him better. So one thing I have to say on these tanks is always get a secure lid, because when a fish is sick or even quarantined or new, they're not used to the lighting, and even a shadow can make them bolt. And I've seen fish literally discus jump out of tanks and be 6 feet in the air. They can launch, right? So I wouldn't quite say arowana launch, but I would say discus are flyers. They will fly out of a tank. So a tight lid at all times is very important. Now these guys have a makeshift lid because of the feeder. So I'm starting to feed them with the feeder when I'm not at home, and that feeder drops 3 times a day, and that just makes sure they're getting plenty of nutrition in them. But I also feed them flatworms and tuberfect worms and frozen foods. These fish love the frozen shrimp, regular and mysis, so they get that usually every day too. You know, one thing that's nice about these tanks is we can manipulate the heat levels. We can get the heat up if we need it. Like this guy's sitting at 86 right now. Now with the gill problem, I don't want to get it too hot, because I want, as the heat goes up, the respiration starts, and so I want him to relax. So what I'll probably do is treat him with the prosy at 86, and then I'll drop it down to like 82 so he can relax those gills once they get clear. And he will get the erythromycin treatment after the praziquantel. So that's what's nice about these 20 gallons is you can manipulate the heat how you want it. Now these guys came in and they went right into 85-degree water. I'm slowly raising the temperature on them, so I want to have the ability to raise it a little more just in case they stop eating. So they're going to go to 86 and stop, right? I like that temperature for a quarantine. It's not too hot, but it's not too cool. And then what I'll slowly do over the next month or two is I might drop that down to 84, 83 degrees. Because I want these guys to get used to my room temperature or my tank temperatures, which runs about 83 degrees. I know that sounds hot, but for me it makes more sense to heat the room than to heat the tanks. Now, a lot of my tanks do have heaters in them because I'm raising fry, and the fry have to have higher temperatures to keep that metabolism going and then getting that food and nutrition through their body. So you want to drive in and drive out, right? So constantly eating, that's what you want your fry to do, because that's how they grow correctly. So with the heat, you want definitely a lot of airflow. Now these guys have got pretty high airflow on their sponge filters, but if I am going to, let's say, go to 90 is about your max, right? And some fish, when they have certain issues, that's how you solve it, internal issues. You want that metabolism to kick in. So with that, they would get an air stone included. Now, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have an air stone, but I don't think it's necessary because I'm not seeing any problems with these guys, and these temperatures are about the same. So these guys are gilling normal. This guy's gilling because of a gill problem. I'm almost positive it's either flukes or a gill disease. And gill disease is hard to fix. Sometimes you can get their respiration down, but they always have that flap. So that's something you have to learn to live with. Okay, so another great thing about the 20 gallon is water quality. Now you would think, oh, well, water quality is going to be better in 180. True, but you're going to have to treat it with meds anyway, so your water changes are going to be outrageous because you're trying to get those meds out. Now you can use carbon. I highly recommend not to ever use carbon in a discus tank. I don't use anything in my tanks except for fulvic acid, and then for my tap water I use my my dechlorinator. But what's nice is you can do heavy water changes on this and keep this water quality way up. Now you have to dedicate yourself to a quarantine tank and do a water change, you know, 2 or 3 times a week. These guys get it about 4 to 5 times a week, especially because of this problem here. But because these guys are so new, I want them to have that water quality coming in, my bacteria water coming into them and getting them used to my water parameters coming out of the tap. So you can see why it's better to treat in a 20 gallon than a 180 gallon, 100 gallon. You know, 55 gallon might be okay, 40 gallon okay, 29 definitely okay, but I like this 20 because it's so easy to manipulate and move, and you know, I can do what I need. I can get heat up quick. There's all kinds of things I can do. These tanks are like magic for quarantining. So what happens when I saw this guy? First thing I did was I put him in this tank. Temperature was up, 84, 85, 86, and I treated him with salt, right? So he's sitting in a salt treatment right now. What that does is it relaxes the fish. It kind of, think of it like a spa. It relaxes them, but it starts to add on a slime coat. So that's protection, right? That protects him. Now, if he's got body flukes, that's not going to be the best thing. So that's why I highly recommend, if you treat with my praziquantel, we make sure that salt is out, because we want that slime coat to kind of fall off, and we want to be able, that medication, to get to those body flukes. And the salt has a mild antibacterial property to it. So it's going to kill bacteria. It's not going to eliminate bacteria, but it's definitely going to bring down the load on the fish. So sometimes just the lowering of that bacteria load just slightly with that salt is relaxing, adding slime, but also killing some bacteria. And that sometimes can just make a fish go, oh yeah, this feels great, right? And you can see it. This guy's stressed, he's new, and we will keep updated on this fish. Now, I don't know if this fish is gonna make it, and I wanna talk about this sometimes. You guys send me pictures of fish that are on death's door, and you ask me what you can do. The reality is, in probably the 10,000 discus I've kept in my life, there are just some fish that just will not make it, right? It's unfortunate. It sucks when it happens, right? But here's the thing with that is, sometimes they're suffering so bad where you can see the forehead sunken, there's no belly left, their fins are ratted, and they're not swimming correctly, or they're floating to the side, or they're listless. And no matter how much meds you're going to throw at that fish, you're probably not going to pull that fish back, because it is so stressed, right, that adding meds to a fish that's stressed that much is just going to basically kill that fish. there's nothing left you can do for it. So sometimes fish are just terminal. You got to look at, you know, there's organ failure. There's all kinds of issues that we as humans can't even fix in humans, let alone aquatics. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I've been keeping fish a long time, and I still don't have it figured out, right? I'm still every day working to learn something new and get better at it, but I don't have all the answers, you guys. So I want you to understand that this fish is not even close, but it could take a turn real fast. That fish is stressed, very, very, very stressed. If you own Discus, if you own fish tanks, please get a dedicated quarantine tank. Now here's what happens with quarantine tanks is they turn into fish tanks. Don't do that, okay? If you want to keep a guppy in here to keep it cycled, that's fine, but don't turn this into a fish tank, right? This has a purpose. It's meant to pull your butt out of a problem when you have a sick fish. Do something to make sure it doesn't turn into a fish tank. But for this small investment, you're going to save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Now let's hope we never need it, but why not have it for the little bit of money it costs, right? Now, some people are going to fight me on this, and that is fine. You do you, right? But I'm just telling you from experience that this is what I do. This is what I've done for probably 10 years. This is something I will do for the rest of my life, because this fish right here, if it's sitting in my tank and getting my other fish sick, which there's no signs of any illness in my tank, I will be keeping an eye on it. But if I see anything like that going on in that tank, then I will treat that tank. Now, I might just treat that tank proactively with some Prozzy just to be safe, because there might be gill flukes. I don't know. I can do a scrape on that and find that out. But the problem with scraping a fish like this is it's already so stressed. So it's better just to let him sit and you know, stay in some nice, warm, clean water, and then we'll take care of him and monitor. So monitor, 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 all right? So why 2 quarantine tanks? One for existing fish, one for new fish. Can you have just one quarantine tank? Better than none, right? I won't fault you for just having one. But 2 is nice, because look at the situation I got. 3 weeks, brand new fish. Yesterday, a sick fish. Fulvic acid is huge. It really saves a lot of fish. So he's in a double dose of fulvic acid too with the salt. So I highly recommend two quarantine tanks. Put them away somewhere and have the equipment ready. Have them always running if you can. You can even put them in a garage or something. At least have them running and have some bacteria in them. So a lot of people contact me and say my fish has parasites. You don't know that. We're always guessing unless you do scrapes or you do fecal matter and you do microscope. So you won't know that. I am convinced that 80% of the time it's not a parasite. It's a stressor. Some kind of stressor is making that fish. Discus are very prone to it. I'm not saying don't put a lighter in your tank. Just turn that sucker down and figure out, are you having a discus tank with plants or a planted tank with discus? If it's a planted tank with discus, I can't help you. There's nothing I can do, because I'm convinced that a lot of that stressor is coming from light, poor water conditions. The list goes on. You guys know the rest. I don't have to tell you what causes stress, but most of the time I have found that they might have parasites. Now, I bring in wild fish. When I bring in a wild fish, I don't even guess. I just look at that fish and say that fish has parasites because it's come out of the wild, right? And I treat those fish automatically. All right, guys, so I have a ton of new products coming out. I've been really working hard on them. I got some new foods. My last one with the beef heart. I got so much hate on that one, and I knew, and that's why the video was really about earthworms, feeding earthworms, but I knew that beef heart would get the reaction it did, and I just was laughing so hard that I was getting all these comments about, you know, total BS, and I get it, and I said in the video, I don't feed it to my adults, I feed it to my girls because it's proven. You know, I got all kinds of, you know, breeders all over the world don't use beef heart. Well, I hate to tell you that 90% of the breeders out there use beef heart to grow discus. That's just the way it is. So I know I know breeders that use beef heart in their mixes to breed fish. So, you know, it's been used for over 100 years. Take it, leave it. I really don't care. I use it in a low percentage. My biggest amount in a fish food is 7%. I try to keep it under 5% beef heart. But I know breeders that feed 50% beef heart. I know breeders that feed higher than that. So I was getting a lot of hate, and I was loving it because those conversations, believe it or not, help my channel grow. So, you know, sometimes we put stuff in to cause a reaction, to help the video get more views. Hopefully we're helping people in the long run, but YouTube likes it when people start commenting and liking. So give me some comments, give me some likes. I really appreciate you guys. And I make these videos for you. I really enjoy the time that I have talking to you guys. The business has just exploded, so I can't explain how grateful I am for you guys for buying these products and enjoying them as much as I do. So, and remember, there's still a special till the end of the month. Now, I'm not going to say it on this video. You have to go back to the last video and watch that on the beef heart and the specials in that. But it'll be ending here in 5 or 6 days. And I mean, I don't make a ton of money on them. I do make a little profit, and all that profit's going back in. So I haven't made a penny. I'm about 5,000 in the red right now, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I wanted to build this business off of itself. So maybe I won't show a profit for a year, maybe 2 years, but that's okay because I have other businesses that are very profitable. So this is more about helping people. So when you see my pricing, understand that I've done the best I can to try to get those prices to be reasonable. And obviously, as I grow bigger, I'll be able to go buy a ton of this product or a ton of that product, or two pallets of this product, or a drum of this or whatever. So as I get bigger, those prices should come down a little bit, but it's because I will have more profitability where I can put more into buying bulk. When you order something on a Friday, I can't ship it till Monday because I clean my church on Saturday. My weekends are for my family. So if you order on a Friday, I will ship out first thing Monday morning. Just understand that. But the rest of the week, I try to get it out the next day. All right, guys, take care. Have a good one. Bye.